You ask about Cancun, you ask about Playa del Carmen, you ask about Tulum, and you want to know where is the wisest place, where should I put my money, right? So I want to dive a little bit deeper into each one of those locations and give you the ins and the outs, so to speak, of the vacation destination that we call the Riviera Maya in the Gulf Coast of Quintana Roo. So we'll start with Cancun. Cancun has been around since the early 70s, getting huge in the 70s. It's been around before that in the 40s and 30s and stuff like that, but it started getting developed and commercialized in the 70s, early 80s. It started getting bigger, booming, spring breaks, 90s, 2000s. It's amazing. I've seen some really cool pictures of what Cancun looked like, the hotel zone, the hotel area, back in like 1950s, 1940s, people asking, was this a good investment? And this is not a very old city. We're not talking about hundreds of years. We're talking about 60, 70 years ago that this was basically a beach. There was no development whatsoever. Where you look at the picture now of what the Cancun hotel industry, the hotel area looks like, it's unbelievable. So is it still a good buy? Is it too expensive in Cancun? It's not. Cancun has gotten bigger. If I'm gonna give you kind of a, I'm not sure if you're an American, if you're Canadian looking at this video, but I'm from Texas, right? So I'm gonna tell you my relations with different cities in Texas to give you a good analogy of what I'm talking about. Cancun is like Houston, right? Houston, Texas, everything is spread out. It's huge. There's lots of good opportunities in Houston, Texas. And just like Cancun, Cancun is very spread out. You've got a lot of opportunities, lots of places of growth. And right now, one of the areas of focus in Cancun is an avenida. It's a road that's called Guayacan. And this Guayacan is basically the rodeo drive, quote unquote, right, of Cancun right now, where all the new businesses, up and coming restaurants, the trendy, posh places are all being built or being developed in the land that's in Guayacan. Guayacan's a great location, great place to buy. And the cost per square meter or per square foot, depending on where you're from, is still very attractive. So why Cancun? Well, Cancun is a very popular destination around the world. Cancun is world renowned, just the name. When someone says, I'm gonna go to Mexico, they say usually two names. They say Cancun or they say Cabo San Lucas. Those are the two places really that are famous right now. It used to be Acapulco maybe 20 years ago, but now Cancun is still this icon of what Mexico is for tourism and to come visit the tropical paradise that we call the Riviera Maya. So where in Cancun besides Guayacan? You have Guayacan, which is where your cost per square meter is much more attractive. It's not completely out of the ballpark. And then you've got places like Puerto Cancun. Puerto Cancun has some iconic developments that are being built or already developed in Puerto Cancun. Puerto Cancun is a very upscale, nice marina that they've built in Cancun. There's a place called Shark Tower, which you're gonna see, I'm sure, a picture of it. There's other places that are, Bloom, for example, that are being built there. These are very nice, upscale, very big, very, very luxurious developments that are in Puerto Cancun, on the marina, and around that surrounding area. And in Puerto Cancun, that's what I explained to you just now. It's very nice, very luxurious. They're big sky rises. So it's kind of like a, quote unquote, like a Miami Beach kind of feel and vibe. Super cool, super nice. But the difference between Miami Beach and Cancun is property taxes. You're gonna pay a lot more in property taxes living in the States or living in Miami Beach than you will in Mexico. So the cost per square meter is just as expensive, but the view is amazing and the cost of living is a lot more attractive. Moving further south, we're gonna talk about Playa del Carmen. Playa del Carmen is my hometown, so to speak. I've been here for 17 years now in Playa del Carmen, and I love Playa. Playa used to be a little fisherman's village, right? If you could see the growth of Playa del Carmen over the past 30 years, it's been astronomical. It's to the 10th power on how big it's been getting and growing. Now, some people will say, yeah, but with that growth, there was a lot of problems. The infrastructure wasn't ready for it, and you're absolutely right. I've had the comments, I've talked about this before. Playa was not prepared for the growth and the boom that Playa del Carmen had over the past 30 years whatsoever. But the steps are being taken, the moves are being made, the infrastructure is catching up to the growth, right? Playa del Carmen is still a great place to invest. Playa del Carmen has amazing restaurants, amazing areas to go out and to dine and to dance and to karaoke and singing and dancing. It's an amazing place to be in Playa del Carmen. And it's not just, there's no real expensive places in Playa del Carmen. It's all cost effective, beautiful, everything is on foot, so to speak, versus in Cancun, you need to have a car, in my opinion. In Playa, you can live anywhere in Playa del Carmen, you can get anywhere you need to go on a bicycle within 15 minutes. If you live on the side of the highway that's close to the ocean, then you can walk everywhere you want to go. You know, there's one iconic road in Playa del Carmen that gets basically the main artery to all of Playa del Carmen nightlife, restaurants, and stores. It's called Quinta Avenida. Quinta Avenida is a good, I don't know, I'm gonna maybe exaggerate a little bit. I'd say 4-5 miles, you know, of Fifth Avenue that starts where the ferry is. It takes you to Cozumel, all the way out to Paradisus Hotel. So it's a long stretch of pedestrian walkway, no cars, where you can stroll with your family, you can stop at restaurants, local shops, and whatnot. So why is it good to invest in Playa? Well, Playa hasn't stopped growing yet. Playa is just getting bigger and it's starting to expand now into areas that are, the cost per square meter is a lot more attractive. You're not going to be looking at return on your investments of 15-20% that people are promising in other projects. I'm not going to give you guys false promises. What I'm going to tell you is that Playa del Carmen is a solid return on your investment with either rental pool or just getting yourself a second vacation home. Your price range in Playa del Carmen is going to range between $150,000 up to $1.6 to $2 million, depending on the area. Where are the places that are $2 million in Playa del Carmen? In Playa del Carmen, your $2 million homes are going to be in a place that's called Playa Car Phase 1, or Fase Uno is what they call it here, right? That's where you're going to have these multi-million-dollar homes on the beach, epic, giant, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 square foot homes where your infinity pool looks over the beautiful Caribbean, all right? So you get outside of Playa Car Phase 1 and you get into the downtown area, you're going to still have some nice condos. There's a few developments that boast and have $1 to $2 million condos that are 4,000 square foot penthouses that are available. They're not going to be on the beach, but they are going to have epic views and unbelievable amenities, unbelievable spaces. But now the rest of it, the 70 percentile of the developments are all going to range between $150,000 to $450,000. That's your happy spot. And Playa del Carmen is still a great place to invest. It hasn't stopped the growth, and it's still one of my favorite places to be. I've made my home here. So moving further south, we're going to get into a place that's called Tulum, and everybody knows Tulum now, right? Tulum has become a benchmark of Mexico, just like Cancun was in the 80s and 90s. Tulum has now become that iconic name, that iconic place to invest. And I want to, I want to digress a little bit. Cancun is going to be more your city feel, your city living, your restaurants, malls, shopping centers. Playa del Carmen will be more bohemic, more contemporary. You're going to have, it's a very cosmopolitan city in Playa del Carmen. And then you go to Tulum. Tulum, they've actually coined their own terminology in Tulum, and they call themselves not Illuminatis, but Tuluminatis, right? Tulum has become this iconic, holistic, be one with nature, using the earth and using the natural resources within the earth to create these eco-friendly, self-sufficient developments, condominiums, and hotels. And that's what Tulum is feeling, right? If you want to go from learning from our mistakes, Cancun built sky rises, and the mistake from there was the blocking of the view and overdevelopment. And then you go into Playa del Carmen. Playa del Carmen, the tallest you can get now is 6 floors with the basement 7. When I got here, it was 3. But there was no laws on easements in Playa del Carmen. And the cost per square meter was so high for a developer, they had to build to the very edge of their land to get their money back to make this a profitable venture for them. So then we go to Tulum. You've got a different vision now in Tulum. Tulum has a vision where most of the developers now are respecting the fauna. They're respecting the trees and naturaleza, or the nature that's in Tulum. And they're only building 30 to 40% of their land. And they're leaving the rest green. They're leaving the rest with nature and greenery. One of the sayings they have in a development in Tulum, I'm going to name drop, it's called 101, is you want to disconnect from the electronic world to reconnect with yourself in Tulum. And that's what they're doing in Tulum. Tulum is going to have a different vibe. It is a little spread out. It's under development right now. There have been bumps and bruises. There are situations where the power goes out, the water stops. Those are growing pains of a new town, a new city, but they're being addressed. They're being fixed. Developers are putting their money into it now, and they're making sure this destination has the best of the best offered to customers that want to come down here and celebrate. You know, why has Tulum gotten so big? People have asked that question many times, saying, what is so special about Tulum? Well, besides what I already explained to you, Tulum got really big during the pandemic. Why? Well, Mexico, first of all, during COVID, didn't have such strict laws like the United States or Canada or other countries around the world. Mexico acted as if COVID didn't exist, right, quote unquote. But a lot of digital nomads, a lot of cryptocurrency guys, a lot of guys that had digital money said, you know what, let's go. And they went to Tulum. Influencers, movie stars, rock stars started posting pictures of themselves being in Tulum, enjoying this beautiful fauna, enjoying these beautiful beaches, that people said, we want to go there. So people moved to Tulum. And they're in Tulum enjoying what I just described to you. Now, negative sides, I can't just paint this beautiful picture of like butterflies and rainbows for you, right? You know, Tulum, the cost of living is higher than it is in Playa del Carmen and also Cancun. If I want to give it to you in cost of living terminology, I think Cancun is the least expensive, and then Playa del Carmen is a little more expensive, then Tulum is the most expensive place to live, okay? Because of the cost of the food and the restaurants and stuff like that, okay? So with that being said, you know, Tulum has a cost of living is a little expensive, and also the infrastructure is going through some growing pains and getting to the place where it needs to get, but it's going to get there. So this brings me to my next topic. You know, I said people are moving here and living here, and they're moving to all three of these destinations and everywhere in between, right? For example, the towns that are in between Cancun and Playa, like I mentioned before, is Akumal, right? I'm sorry, Playa del Carmen and Tulum is Akumal. Between Cancun and Playa del Carmen is Puerto Morelos. These are all these different towns. The reason why I'm talking about this is you've got a huge community of expats moving to Mexico. I don't have to get into why they're moving to Mexico. Everyone has their own prerogatives. Everybody has their own reasons. I'm not here to debate political agendas and vice versa, okay? But people are leaving their countries and they're moving to Mexico. Why are they moving here? Well, one, property taxes. One of the biggest headaches people have about owning property in the United States, or one of the I guess the negative feeling is they never truly own their property. Why? Because they're paying Uncle Sam thousands of dollars per year. And if they don't pay those thousands of dollars, Uncle Sam takes their property back from them, right? So the percentage is much higher on the property taxes in the United States. Here it's 0.08%. So you're going to pay a lot less on property taxes in Mexico. That's one. Two, the cost of living is a lot more cost effective, a lot less expensive to live in the Riviera Maya than it is to live anywhere in the United States or anywhere in Canada. Medical care, health care, it's here. You've got expats with medical insurance living in Mexico now. The expat community is growing exponentially on a day-by-day basis. There are several different expat chats within Facebook or Instagram that you can join to feel more acquainted with and share information with on what it's like to move to Mexico. You know, getting your residency, it's not a slam dunk. There is a process to doing that. It is simpler to get a temporary residency or a permanent residency if you own property in Mexico. That's going to be a whole other conversation in the future. But so you know that expats are moving here because they're just enjoying life better. There's less stress here. There's less, I can't say there's less traffic, because traffic has gotten crazy over the past few months, but because there's a lot of construction happening on the highways. You know, the Mayan train did cause a lot of traffic, but it's going to alleviate in the future. I talked about that earlier. But the expat community comes because it's just less expensive and less stress. People don't have to get in a car and drive for 3.5 hours to go to work every day like they do in LA. People are now realizing that they can travel around the world and find some kind of internet or online commerce or online business and live somewhere and not work from 8 to 5 until they're 70 years old and then retire for the last 10 years of their life. People are now enjoying life to the fullest in the moment that they can enjoy it, which is now. So the expats that are living here, you have people that speak English, people that are German, French, Italian. I'm not just talking about just ex-Americans or ex-Canadians. We've got a cosmopolitan growth of people happening in this entire Riviera Maya.